Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotra Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotra Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Gita Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. In the Pujari room, I think the 5th canto is there on the where you usually put Tulsi, Govardhan Das. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we were reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, entitled The Creative Impetus, chapter 3, the appearance of Rishabhadev's appearance, and we're on text number. Just one second.
You say chapter 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're at text 18. Yeah.
You're at 19? 18. Right?
Yep, we're on 18. Right? You didn't read 18 yesterday, right?
I read no purple, and then there was a purple.
Huh? Yeah, today's 18. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Tata Agnindriyeng Shakalaya Vatarishyam Yatmatulyam Anupalabdhamanaha.
Okay, word by word. Tataha, therefore, Agnidriye, and the wife of Nabi, the son of Agnidra, Amsakalaya, by an expansion of my personal form, Avatar Yashami, I shall advent myself, Atmatulyam, my equal, Anupalambamanaha, not finding. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, HG Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Since I cannot find anyone equal to me, I shall personally expand myself into a plenary portion and thus advent myself in the womb of Meru Devi, the wife of Maharaj Nabi, the son of Agnidra. Purport. This is an example of the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although He is one without a second, He expands Himself by swamsha, His personal expansion, and sometimes by vibhinanksha, or His separated expansion. Lord Vishnu herein agrees to send His personal expansion as the son of Meru Devi, the wife of Maharaj Nabi, who is the son of Agnidra. The Ritvaja, the priests, knew that God is one, yet they prayed for the Supreme Lord to become the son of Maharaj Nabi, to let the world know that the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is one without a second. When He incarnates, He expands Himself in different potencies. So I'll read the next one as well. Shukadeva Goswami continued, after saying this, the Lord disappeared. The wife of King Nabi, Queen Meru Devi, was sitting by the side of her husband, and consequently she could hear everything the Supreme Lord had spoken. Purport. According to the Vedic injunctions, one should perform sacrifices in the company of one's own wife. Sapatniko dharmam acharet. Religious rituals should be performed with one's wife. Therefore, Maharaj Nabi conducted his great sacrifice with his wife by his side. Okay, I'll read next 20 as well. O Vishnu Datta, Parikshit Maharaj, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was pleased by the great sages at the sacrifice. Consequently, the Lord decided to personally exhibit the method of executing religious principles, as observed by brahmacharis, sannyasis, vanaprasthas, and grihasthas engaged in rituals, and also satisfy Maharaj Nabi's desire. Consequently, he appeared as the son of Meru Devi in his original spiritual form, which is above the modes of material nature. Purport. When the Supreme Lord appears or descends as an incarnation within this material world, He does not accept a body made of the three modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. Mayavadi philosophers say that the impersonal God appears in this material world by accepting a body in the Sattvagun. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti states that the word Shukla means consisting of Shuddha Sattva. Lord Vishnu descends in his Shuddha Sattva form. Shuddha Sattva refers to the Sattva Gun, which is never contaminated. In this material world, even the mode of goodness, Sattva Gun, is contaminated by tinges of Rajagun and Tamagun. When Sattva Gun is never contaminated by Rajagun and Tamagun, it is called Shuddha Sattva. Sattva Vishuddham Vasudev Shabditam. Bhagavatam 4.3.23. That is the platform of Vasudeva, whereby the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, can be experienced. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 7, Sri Krishna himself says, Yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam dharmasya tadatmanam shudamiham. Whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Unlike ordinary living entities, the Supreme Lord is not forced by the modes of material nature to appear. He appears, dharman darshit yatu kama, to show how to execute the functions of a human being. The word dharma is meant for human beings and is never used in connection with beings inferior to human beings, such as animals. Unfortunately, without being guided by the Supreme Lord, human beings sometimes manufacture a process of dharma by concoction. Actually, dharma cannot be cannot be made by man. Dharman tushad bhagavat pranitam, Bhagavatam 6.3.19. Dharma is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as the law is given by the state government. Man-made dharma has no meaning. Srimad Bhagavatam refers to man-made dharma as kaitava dharma, cheating religion. The Supreme Lord sends an avatar incarnation to teach human society the proper way to execute religious principles. Such religious principles are Bhakti Marg. As the Supreme Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. The son of Maharaj Nabi, Rishabhadev, appeared on this earth to preach the principles of religion. That will be explained in the 5th chapter of this 5th canto. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 3rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Rishabhadev's appearance in the womb of Meru Devi, the wife of King Nabi. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kadidavachalam Pangam Langai Tegirim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitadanam Vancha Kalpadubishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we see here that Vishnu, he's in the first text we read, that he's agreed to expand himself into the plenary portion, thus advent in the womb of Meru Devi. So he's going to fulfill Maharaj Nabi's desire of wanting a son like the Lord. And so that's quite amazing. And because Meru Devi, she was there, Queen Meru Devi, she was also there at the sacrifice. She heard what Vishnu said, that he's going to advent in her womb. So she quite amazing as well, right? So and then in the last verse we just read, it's mentioning how mentioning how he appeared as the son of Meru Devi in his original spiritual form, which is above the modes of material nature. So Srila Prabhupada comments on that, how Krishna, when he appears in this material world, it's not by force like we do, or like the souls in this world do. Force means they're not means it's forced into miserable conditions. Now, of course, you could say that's based on a desire, but all of Krishna's appearances, they're all full of pleasure, and his activities are all full of pleasure. Whereas the souls, taking birth, or people appearing within this world, or taking birth within this world, birth after birth, we see that it's not full of pleasure. It's not just pastimes, right? Something else. So in Krishna, he's above the modes of material nature. So it's not that Krishna, he was impersonal, and then he comes to this material world, and then he has like a material body, that's in sattva gun, mode of goodness, something like that. Krishna is always transcendental. And it's amazing, anyway, somebody sent me something for Janmashtami, like a little, people sent Happy Janmashtami, and so it was this whole message, and I read the whole thing, and anyways, he's a nice person, nice devotee, and part of the congregation, and maybe he's listening here. I don't know, but he sent me. So a lot of it was correct. Okay, Krishna appeared, and it was given a whole breakdown of how long Krishna was manifest on this earth and his different activities, and so I read it. But then there was a few things that were kind of strange, and one of them was, Krishna. It said something like Krishna did not perform any miracles. Period. And then another one was, it said, and he his life was just full of struggle and suffering, something like that. And it said that, and it said that also something like, he was blackish and bluish in color, and therefore in the village everybody would kind of make fun of him, kind of like that. So it's like, wow, these are yeah, something like that. So he didn't perform any miracles. This would have said, didn't perform any miracles. People make fun of him, and he had a life full of suffering and struggle and this and that. So I wrote the person back, and I said, well, a lot of, I didn't get into detail of the going, point by point in the message, but I said that simply, well, a lot of this is, some of this is correct, but some of it's wrong. Kind of left it at that, but I said, anyways, Happy Janmashtami. But no, he didn't write back. But maybe what I'll do is when I see him next time, or when I speak with him, or when I, talk with kind of those in that group, I could kind of go through some of those wrong points and explain. But sometimes people just get something, like a message, and that it was forwarded to them, and they say, this is about Krishna, let me send it, and maybe they didn't go through it in detail, and who knows. But there's so much misconception out there about Krishna. I remember there was one brahmachari here years ago, not here anymore, but his father was not happy that he joined the Hare Krishna movement. And by the way, this is a long-standing tradition, fathers not being happy. Now, of course, some fathers are happy, but it's not uncommon that fathers aren't happy. Yeah, Hiranyakashipu's there. But I was thinking that 500 years ago in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, it's explained that when the devotees were asking for the benedictions, different benedictions in the Mahaprakash, Lord Chaitanya was displaying his godhood, and he was asking the devotees, what do you want? And they were, requesting different things from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It says that one of them, they asked for the benediction that, it was something like, please let my father understand the importance, in essence, please let my father understand the importance of Krishna consciousness, and not try to hold me back from engaging in Krishna consciousness. Which I was, that's interesting. Even in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's days, there were fathers trying to hold their sons back from devotional service. But anyways, this brahmachari's father, he was wondering about Krishna. So then he looked something up about Krishna, and he told his son. He said, "Oh yeah," he said, "I know Krishna." He said, "Oh, a warrior," which is implying, killing a bunch of people. "Oh, a warrior, so many wives," and that was his understanding. Right. So there's many misconceptions about Krishna, but therefore we have to hear from the Vedic literature, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the devotees, from Srila Prabhupada, and then get the right idea. Or else, without knowledge, without education, we're just hopeless, actually. When Srila Prabhupada came to America, many people, were very interested in what he was doing, news reporters and so on. So one particular case, there was a news reporter, and news reporters, I don't know if they still do this, because maybe they just pull out the recorder or something like that, but news reporters, at least back then, they might still do it. They probably do, but when they're interviewing somebody, they start writing it down, writing down the person's answers. Okay, what did you say? And they start writing. And you get that sometimes when students come to the temple from SDSU or UCSD. They're jotting your answers down quickly. So Srila Prabhupada was being questioned by one news reporter in America, and the news reporter was saying, "So why did you come here to the West?" And Srila Prabhupada said, "I came to the West to give you a brain." And then said that the news reporter, devotees commented that the news reporter stopped writing, and then they looked up and their eyes were kind of big and a little surprised that he said that. And devotees were mentioning how there was so that facial expression from the news reporter was just classic, yeah. But then Prabhupada went on to explain that a civilization rests on, right, the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, them all together working together. And he was explaining how the Brahmins, or the teachers, or the priests, or the devotees, the Brahmin devotees, they are said to be the head of human society. They give direction to human society, and the Kshatriyas, right, and so on, the arms. And he started explaining like that. So, so the idea that he was communicating to this reporter was that a society needs direction by Brahmins, and therefore he's coming to create a class of individuals who could lead human society by their intelligence, right, given by Krishna. So he was explaining that. And therefore Srila Prabhupada spent so much time writing books. Prabhupada spent a lot of his time writing books and teaching. And in a lot of other religions, Buddhism, Christianity, probably Islam too, but at least definitely with Buddhism and Christianity, the main, you could say, leaders of those religions, namely Jesus Christ and Buddha, they didn't say a lot, comparatively speaking, to how much Srila Prabhupada said. Srila Prabhupada said a lot. He wrote 7,000 letters. That's there. He wrote all of the Srimad Bhagavatam Chaitanya, commented on the Srimad Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita, lectures, morning walks, conversations. I mean, there's a lot. And for people to study the amazing amount of information Srila Prabhupada gave out, that takes time, right? And it's amazing because sometimes these big scholars, one devotee, actually, Tamal Krishna Goswami, was mentioning how sometimes they do reports on the Hare Krishna movement and kind of studies, right? And Maharaj was making the point that it's amazing how so many times on so many occasions these big scholars, they do not sufficiently, to say the least, study Srila Prabhupada's work. But then they comment on the Hare Krishna movement and what it's all about. And Maharaj was making the point that not only do they not study Srila Prabhupada's work, but he was making the point that they were quoting me. And he was making the point that I was just a 2-year practitioner, or whatever it was, 3-year practitioner. He said, why aren't they quoting Srila Prabhupada? And he was encouraging scholars to try to investigate Srila Prabhupada's work, which he was saying there's a lack of them doing that. So there's a lot out there. So it's not that whereas these other traditions, the leaders said, you could probably go through it in one day. You actually can. You could go through it in one day, how much Jesus Christ said, and Buddha. could probably do them both in one day. Whereas try going through what Srila Prabhupada said in one day. Not going to do that. You read 40 pages of Srimad Bhagavatam a day, and you'll finish the Srimad Bhagavatam in a year. And that's the Srimad Bhagavatam, and there's a lot more. So Srila Prabhupada, he gave us all this so we could become educated, and so we could try to lead human society. Now, of course, the idea of leading a whole human society, it seems a little a lot far distance, but at least on whatever ways we can at the present moment, try to do that, at least our own society. And in relation to that, there's it's tough because there was one German what's that word? Aphorist? Anyways, I think, Yeah. He had a lot of good sayings. One German guy had some good sayings. He said that a book is like a mirror. And he said that if an ape looks into a book, you can hardly expect an apostle to look out. So, in other words, based on people's consciousness, looking at a particular book, they're going to get something out of it, right? It's like a mirror, reflection. So, therefore, sometimes people that get the books, oh, what is this? Like Tirthamar said one time, he was giving a Bhagavatam class here, and, oh, what's the Bhagavatam? He said, went like this to try to can I eat this? Like literally eat it as food. But so in other words, the consciousness has to become purified in order to actually understand the books. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, right? The conscience has to be purified, and therefore the chanting, the devotional service, like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when these scholars would come, and there's apparently one pastime where a man came and he wanted to ask him a question, and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, oh, well, you go help the pujaris in the back, and help them polish. So the man was helping them polish the paraphernalia. There was also a case where he had them wash pots. He would also have them shovel manure, because a lot of the Gaudiya Mats had cows, and shovel the manure. But on some of these occasions, the people, they would come back to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and they would say, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur would ask them, so, what's your question? And the person said, oh, actually, in the course of me doing service, it came to me, and I actually understand, what I was going to ask you. So the consciousness has to be purified in order to see the books properly or understand them. Because Brahmins don't mean just somebody who's intelligent or someone who has a brain or someone who could whatever, but it means someone who has purified intelligence. So that's very important. And to and it's tough because, and then, Srila Prabhupada also said in this particular news report, this conversation to this news reporter, he made the point that, it's you don't have any Brahmins, all you have is Shudras and a few Vaishyas, And therefore people that become angry sometimes, like they have a saying, right? Oh, when you tell someone the truth in the Kali Yuga, they beat you with sticks. Why are you telling me the truth? You tell them the truth and they pull out a stick and say, hey, put your head right here, start beating you. Whereas if you tell them lies, oh, okay, great, thank you. They'll pay you lots of money. Like this, it's amazing actually. Someone was telling me recently that they went to this retreat in Mexico. Very expensive, by the way. Because you get let's say you get 30 people, they're each paying at least $1,000. Something like that. But anyways, they went to this retreat, and it was a retreat. it was a Mauna Vrata retreat. Just don't speak. Silent retreat. And I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting, because they invite all these people, and no one could speak to each other, so you don't have to, like, you know, it's not like you got a bunch of, you know, aspiring disciples or followers asking you questions, because they can't ask you any questions, right? Can't have to ask the guru or the facilitator any questions, because they have to be silent. Nor can they speak with each other, so they're not going to be fighting so much, and, you know, so in other words, it's a pretty easy retreat to lead. Just come to our place and just be quiet for 10 days. Pay us. And this devotee was telling me that this person was there, and he just freaked out. And I can't do it anymore. He just started like yelling. And yeah, he snapped. So then the facilitators had to, you know, get rid of him. And so in other words, people sign up for all types of things, which is just cheating. Actually, this is just cheating. I mean, it's just absolutely joke. You know, mockery. For so many reasons. But those of us who have subscribed, or those of us who have joined the Hare Krishna movement, what are we supposed to do? Because we can't just lie to people. We have to tell them the truth. Well, that's what we have to do. We have to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, which tell them the truth. We have to repeat Srila Prabhupada's words, which tell them the truth. And if we deviate from that, then that's not good, because that's considered to be concocting things. And as Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport here, that he quotes this often, actually, this Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. And that's in the 6th canto, chapter 3, Yamaraj instructs his messengers about religious principles. So I'll just read that verse. It says from Yamaraj, real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although fully situated in the mode of goodness, even the great rishis who occupy the topmost planets cannot ascertain the real religious principles. Nor can the demigods or the leaders of Siddhaloka, to say nothing of the asuras, ordinary human beings, vidyadharas and charnas. And then in the purport, there's the last sentence of the purport. Srila Prabhupada says, this transcendental religious principle must be understood from the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly, or from his special representative, as stated in the next verses. So in the next verse is Swayambhur, Narada, Shambhu, Kumara, Kapila, Manu. So Lord Brahma, Bhagavan, Narada, Lord Shiva, the 4 Kumaras, Lord Kapila, Swayambhuva, Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak Maharaj, Grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Shukadeva Goswami, and I myself, Yamaraj says, and I myself, know the real religious principle. My dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavat Dharma, or surrender unto the Supreme Lord and love for Him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is very confidential and is difficult for ordinary human beings to understand. So this is Canto 6, Chapter 3, Text 20. But if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated, and thus he returns home back to Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that there's these sampradayas, these bona fide authentic sampradayas. And then there's the upasampradayas, the deviant groups. And he says that it's a useless waste of time to follow these sampradayas, upasampradayas. And it doesn't give the proper fruit. And then Yamaraj continues, and he starts getting into the glorification of the holy name, that devotional service beginning with the chant of the holy name of the Lord is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. So, Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, it's enunciated by Krishna and by the devotees of Krishna, the acharyas, the different mahajans, right? Mahajana, what is it? What is it? Dasapanta, yeah. The path of Krishna consciousness is chalked out by the Mahajan. It's in their hearts, and sometimes it's difficult to navigate. Okay, should I be going this way? Should I be going that way? Should I be doing this in my Krishna consciousness? Should I be doing that in my Krishna consciousness? And therefore we have gurus, Diksha gurus, Shiksha gurus, who are meant to guide us in our lives. So the process of Krishna consciousness is very clear, very simple, straightforward, but it will be missed if we don't purify our consciousness. Because although it is very clear, although it is very straightforward, although it is very simple, if our consciousness is not purified sufficiently, we'll be confused, actually. And purified sufficient means at least purified to the point where we could understand the basic principles of Krishna consciousness and how to make progress. Whereas sometimes people's consciousness is not purified sufficiently, where they can't understand even the basic principles of Krishna consciousness or how to make progress. So we should try to focus on purifying our consciousness, right? Purity is the force. The force of what? We're not trying to, what are we trying to do? We're trying to spread Krishna consciousness, right? All over San Diego, all over the world. So the purity is the force, which means that it's the force behind our spreading Krishna consciousness. That's how it is spread. Not by force, not by mere intelligence, right? Not by, of course, we need some intelligence, we need some organization, but it's spread by purity. And therefore, Dharmantu Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam, therefore we need to follow Krishna, his orders very strictly, and also the acharyas, the devotees, Srila Prabhupada, as our main acharya, teacher. So, does anybody have any questions or?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, you could ask.
Yes, Prabhu. The quote is, my obeisances. The quote is, quote, "The solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person."
Yes.
End quote. Prabhu, my question is, why hidden? Why is it that the religious principles need to be hidden in the heart of this self-realized person? Why is it that the word hidden is being used in this quote?
All right. Hidden because it's not easily perceived by ordinary people. That's what it means. That like, for example, I gave that quote from that German guy. I don't know his name, but anyways, that a book is like a mirror. If an ape looks into a book, can't expect an apostle to look out, So, in other words, depending on the particular consciousness that somebody has, they're able to get more or less out of a book. Or to understand it. Like some people, their consciousness is so, they cannot understand just a simple principle. Okay, well, why is, the eating of meat bad? Some people can't understand that, actually. I know it sounds kind of strange, but they actually can't understand it. You try to explain to them. I mean, like Srila Prabhupada was talking, it's a perfect example. Srila Prabhupada was talking to that Cardinal Danilu, right? He couldn't understand. Just look at that video, listen to it. He can't understand the principle of not eating meat. And, yeah. So when we say it's hidden, it means that because of the consciousness being polluted, it cannot be perceived so easily. But hidden, it doesn't mean that it's forever hidden. It can ultimately be achieved. but we have to, find it. Just like, or it has to reawaken. Just like in one of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he makes a comment that, or specifically, you have like Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj said that I was seeking after broken glass, right? But his vision, his consciousness was at a particular level that he was trying to fulfill his material motivations, fulfill his material desires, because that's where his consciousness was. But he later realized that this is just like broken glass. But then he said that you, Lord Vishnu, getting your darshan, getting your association, now I've obtained this jewel, right? The jewel of your, darshan. So, but for Dhruva Maharaj, it was hidden. Vishnu, he could have went for Vishnu immediately. Why didn't he go for Vishnu immediately? Why did he go for his foolish material desires? Or we ourselves can go to strive for Krishna prem, for love for Krishna immediately. Why are we going after our stupid material desires? Because there's a lack, because the consciousness, there's a lack of understanding, there's a lack of, understanding the importance of Krishna consciousness actually being the jewel. So therefore it's hidden.
Yes.
Anyways, it's a little drawn out, but I hope that.
Yes, a spectacular answer to my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Does anybody have any other? Yes.
If I could just make one comment on that.
Yes.
Point. The first part of the verse helps explain why it's hidden. Because there's all these other ways that people try to find through tarko or pratishta, but through logic and argument.
Yeah.
And they can't find it. And even the shrutis, if you're not guided, they seem to disagree. And if you're a rishi, you have to be better than the other rishis, so there's all the argument going on. So by the ordinary course of investigation, it remains hidden until you approach the Acharya Mahajan in the right mood, and then he reveals. He also doesn't openly speak if someone is not in the right.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap. Something that's hit. If you have something valuable, it's not cheap. You have to be sincere. You have to pay the price of shraddha, of determination. So many different, a valuable thing you just don't. Even Jesus says we don't cast pearls before swine.
Yeah.
So that's not in counter to the others. It's in addition to the other answers.
Thank you. All right. Any other question or comment? All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Grantrad Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.